Laura Ingraham are totally fine with Trump saying, we are going to shake down a news organization because I don't like you.
Yeah.
Which is what's happening here. And because I want you to say certain things. I want you to report a certain way.
There is no problem with free speech in America. What we do have a problem with are people who don't speak truthfully, who are interested more in narratives than truth, and who are using what used to be journalism for activism. We do have a problem with that.
That happens.
But there's no ban on free speech. The free speech problems came in the last administration.
That's Republican Scott Jennings calling out a panel of establishment media shills on CNN for pretending that free speech is under attack from the right, while conveniently ignoring the fact that for the past 20 years, they've been working to silence everyone who disagreed with them and their Democrat overlords. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like the left has finally discovered the concept of free speech now that they think it might benefit them again. Because after years of running roughshod over anyone who challenged their narrative, they apparently want a reset. That's right, the same media that blacklisted dissent, censored Hunter Biden stories, and doxed private citizens now wants to pretend they're First Amendment warriors. Here's Scott Jennings shutting them down for having the audacity to act like they're martyrs for free expression.
The 60 Minutes host was brutally real about the state of America, one that there is some evidence to back up. But despite their affinity for free speech, MAGA didn't want to hear it.
Scott's still a whiny, liberal, and still bitter, oblivious to the fact that it was the legacy media's lazy, agenda-driven coverage that helped create the very conditions that he now blames Trump for, like censorship and racial hatred.
It is interesting to me that, first of all, things must be very bad at 60 Minutes to see these CBS anchors who are normally pretty calm going this far.
Look, I know he sued them because he believes he was treated unfairly, or they treated Kamala Harris's interview unfairly and tried to put their thumb on the scale of a presidential election. They're having conversations about settling it. We'll see how it shakes out. I actually think he has a point about it. And if you've watched 60 Minutes for 5 minutes over the last several years, you would know it's not fair. I mean, this is one of the shows. This is one of the outlets that conservatives would point to most often to say, this is the state of American journalism. It's only here to try to hurt Republicans, hurt conservatives, hurt Donald Trump. I mean, Alyssa, you worked in this field for many years. That is the prevailing attitude among conservatives. But on the free speech issue, I don't know what America Scott Pelley is living in. We have more speech now than ever. I mean, you just said you're doing all kinds of speaking engagements and podcasts, and I salute you. You're speaking all the time, in my opinion.
He didn't say there was a ban on free speech. What he said was there are people who want to tell the truth feel like they cannot tell the truth. We see this all the time, everywhere, and you know that. People are living in fear.
I actually see it totally differently.
It takes some real nerve to act like being criticized and dealing with the consequences of your own actions is some sort of attack on free speech. Especially when you spent the last decade doing everything you could to silence people you disagree with. I mean, Trump suing CBS isn't some authoritarian crackdown. It's frankly a long overdue reckoning. This is what accountability looks like. CBS doctored footage, lied to the public, and now they're mad they got caught. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for establishment media. Even their parent company knows they're in trouble and already talking settlements. And while the left tries to cry about attacks on journalism, they're the ones who turned media into a weapon to prop up Democrats and silence conservatives, particularly on radically progressive issues. Here's Jennings highlighting this by calmly speaking common sense on an issue that many Americans have been too afraid to discuss for fear of liberal retaliation.
Science behind this hasn't been studied enough or talked about enough for us to make a real full opinion. I do agree girls' sports are for girls.
You said this hasn't been studied enough to know that, look, we've got millions of years of study. Men and women are different, and that's why it's unfair to put boys in girls' sports. We don't need to have any more biological studies. It is fundamentally unfair.
But do you see, genuinely curious, any accommodations that are reasonable? You have a 16-year-old who wants to participate in sports. In your mind, is there any way that can happen that is fair?
Of course. Have the people participate with their own biological sex. Boys in boys sports, girls in girls sports. It's worked for a very long time in this country.
But it's not that simple anymore, Scott. That's where we are. So what do you do when it's not
80% of the country?
But it's not that anymore. So what do you do with the 20%? Do we ignore them?
Yeah,
do
pretty
we
much.
I
mean, it's an 80-20 issue.
Scott, everybody's ignoring that.
And you just said it was a minuscule number.
It's
if
a
it's minuscule,
number.
why do we have to upend?
We don't have to. The reason why I said it was a minuscule number, Scott, was because I don't think it's fair that you're scaring people at home thinking that boys are trying to compete in girls sport by the droves and that this is going to take over and you were scaring people at home. It's just not happening, Scott.
But this
is not happening.
This is like the most competitive track meet in the country.
You've got to love how the same people who were pretending to be fearless truth tellers suddenly resort to interrupting, avoiding eye contact, playing semantics with numbers, and using emotional blackmail the moment they encounter someone with a different opinion. Which, of course, is because the establishment media's version of truth is often a lie. Jennings is absolutely right about this issue. It's not a one-off, it's rampant, and the numbers back it up. Over 600 female athletes have lost 890 medals across 400 plus events. That's not some fringe example. I mean, girls are being pushed off podiums and out of scholarships by biological males, but the media keeps downplaying it with word games and pretending it's no big deal. They talk about inclusion but ignore fairness, safety, and biology. The same people who blew up society over statistical anomalies are now mocking women for pointing out this obvious injustice. And when a few actually have the courage to speak out, like Peyton McNabb or Riley Gaines, they immediately get ridiculed and silenced. Which is amusing because the left suddenly seems to love talking about free speech being under attack and people being afraid to speak out under President Trump. But that's because they're only capable of thinking about themselves, and it fits well into their victim narrative. The truth is they don't give two craps about everyday Americans concerned about losing their jobs over their opinions or about female athletes or parents' fears, because it's something they agree with, which according to the left apparently means it's fine to intimidate and silence the opposition. But let me know what you think. Will liberals be able to fool people into thinking they care about free speech again? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.